It's not always incredibly useful or fast or quick to solve equations by, or solve system of equations by graphing. So another technique, another way you can solve a system is by substitution. So just to go back to a system is two or more equations. They can be linear functions, they can be absolute values, square root, any type of functions, and you're trying to see where they intersect. And it has different uses. So I'm going to show you how to use substitution. The first way, or first way that you can use substitution is if you have equations that are written as y equals. So if y equals negative 3x plus 8 and y equals x minus 6, then I can use substitution and write this as for y. So substitution comes from, if you have, I'll think about something simplistically. If heart equals star and star equals square, then that means that you can substitute the star right here for the heart, and so heart equals square. That's using substitution. So in here, if you know that y equals negative 3x plus 8 and y equals x minus 6, then I can substitute this in and write that negative 3x plus 8 equals x minus 6. So now I have x's on both sides. I'm going to get my x's on the same side. So I'm going to add 3x and get 8 equals 4x minus 6. Then add 6. So 10 equals 4x. So x equals 10/4 or 2.5. So when you solve a system, you really think of something in two dimensions. So you're trying to figure out what the x is and the y. So you can't stop right now. So once you get x equals 2.5, you need to substitute it back in either one of these equations. So I'm going to plug it back into the second one because that seems simpler to me. So if I plug x as 2.5 in and subtract 6, I'm going to get negative 4.5. So the answer is your ordered pair 2.5, negative 4.5. So part B, solve y equals 2x and y equals 7x minus 15. So I'm going to substitute 2x in for y. So now I have 2x equals 7x minus 15. So I subtract 7x from each side. So I have negative 5x equals negative 15. So x equals 3. So that's only part of my solution. So I have to plug in x and see what y is. So I'm plugging in x into the first one because to me that looks simpler. So y equals 2 times 3. So y equals 6. So my solution is an ordered pair 3, 6. Okay, sometimes you have to work a little harder to substitute. So I have this function this equation does not have y equaling anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this second equation, which does have y equaling something, and I'm going to substitute it in for this y in the first equation. I need to make sure that when I substitute this y in, I'm substituting this whole quantity, so I need to make sure I use parentheses. So from left to right, I'm going to write 3 times y. So y is 6x minus 7. Then I'm going to copy plus 2x equals 4. So plus 2x equals 4. Then I'm going to use the distributive property and simplify. So this is 18x minus 21 plus 2x equals 4. Now I'm going to combine like terms and do 20x minus 21 equals 4. Add 21 to each side. So 20x equals 25, and then divide by 20. So x equals 25 divided by 20 which is 5 over 4, which is the same thing as 1.25. So because there's not any fractions, I could answer as a decimal or a fraction. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this into, I'll use this equation. So it's going to be y equals 6 times 1.25 minus 7. So I get y equals 0.5. So I'm going to write my answer as 1.25 comma 0.5. Or if you want to do it in fractions, you could write as 5/4, 1/2. In general, if both, you should match up the numbers. So if this is a decimal, this is a decimal. If this is a fraction, this is a fraction. Don't mix fractions and decimals. Okay, the second one, this one I don't have either variable solved. I don't have what x is or what y is by itself. So you can pick one. So in this equation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for x. So if I solve for x, x equals 8 minus 2y. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute 8 minus 2y in for x in my second equation. So I'm going to get y minus 2 equals negative 1/2 times x, which needs to stay in parentheses. Now the purpose of doing this is now I have everything in terms of y. Negative 1/2 times negative 2 is just 1. So then I'm going to get my y's on the same side. So I have negative 2, oh, my y's canceled out, equals negative 2. Because if I add 2 to this side. Oops, wait, no I didn't. So if these two cancel out, I get negative 2. Then I don't need to do that. So I have negative 2 on the left-hand side. But on the right-hand side, I have negative 4. So if I get negative 2 equals negative 4, what does that mean? Remember when we solved equations, if we get something that the variables drops out, and the left-hand side, this does not equal the right-hand side, so this is false. This means no solution. So this is a no solution situation. So infinite solution would look like a true statement at the end after they cancel out. Okay, then we're going to do a few word problems. So suppose you want to start taking an aerobics class. Non-members pay $4 per class, while members pay $10 per month plus an additional $2 per class. So I'm going to write an equation for members, which is y equals 2x plus 10, and non-members, which is y equals 4x. So I can solve by substitution by letting this be substituted right here. So I have 2x plus 10 equals 4x. I'm going to get one side equal to 0. So 10 equals 2x. X equals 5. So 5 classes is my solution. So at 5 classes, it's going to cost $20. Okay, letter B, a rectangle is 4 times longer than it is wide. The perimeter of a rectangle is 30 centimeters. Find the dimensions. This is a little bit we did in chapter 3. So I'm going to use the formula for perimeter, which is 2 times the length plus 2 times the W. Now, I know that the perimeter is 30. So 30 equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. Another thing I know is the rectangle is 4 times longer than it is wide. So this means that the length is 4 times the width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use substitution, and if the length is 4 times the width, I'm going to substitute it in right here for length. So 30 equals 2 times the length, which is 4W, plus 2 times the width. So now I got 30 equals 8 W's plus 2 W's. So 30 equals 10 W's. So W has to be 3, and my units are centimeters. So if W equals 3, then I can substitute 3 in for W right here. So the length is 4 times 3, which is 12 centimeters. So this is answering the question, find the dimensions of the rectangle.